And, I don't think that blockchain tech is a solved problem. Um, I, I will say that, I've sort of been involved in the Ethereum and Solana ecosystems, and what is that? Well, Solana, it's a blockchain, and the thing that sets it apart is that it really is shooting for that much TPS, for, millions eventually. It's, probably the fastest today at 50,000. But what really makes it different isn't the speed today, but it's the roadmap that is really, really actively shooting for way more than that.
Solana has soared 76.24% in the past 7 days as of August 21st. Fast forward to August 23rd, it is trading at $77.90 per token, and projects on the decentralized finance DeFi networks behind these tokens have sharply picked up traction of late. Welcome to Crypto Revolution. We're back with another video, and this time we're going to talk about the meteoric rise of Solana and why you need to start investing in this if you haven't already. It looks like Solana is set to change the game of building scalable crypto applications. But before we get into that, let's talk about what Solana is all about. Ethereum was launched as a world computer, and it was intended to be a single, composable, permissionless network that could run code in a trustless environment, and it's been successful on most fronts. However, there are many factors that serve as a barrier to achieve that end goal. Its lack of throughput, use of an unpopular programming language, high latency, and high gas fees make it a rather challenging ecosystem for developers. Endless streams of networks have rolled out solutions to the scaling program, but none have been completely successful in achieving this. The blockchain industry is no longer in its nascent stages in terms of both digital assets, price, and their ever wider adoption. With people joining the crypto revolution and investing left and right, blockchain networks need to be capable of handling the additional demand. This is where Solana comes into the picture. The Solana network was designed to address all of these problems. The Solana SOL platform was founded back in 2017 by Anatoly Yakovenko. Along with Eric Williams and Solana's CTO, Greg Fitzgerald, they created a new process of dealing with traditional throughput problems that existed in the Bitcoin and Ethereum blockchains. Solana is a web-scale blockchain that provides fast, secure, scalable, decentralized apps and marketplaces. The system currently supports 50,000 TPS, transactions per second, and 400 millisecond block times. The overarching goal of the Solana software is to demonstrate that there is a possible set of software algorithms using the combination to create a blockchain. This would allow transaction throughput to scale proportionally with network bandwidth, satisfying all properties of a blockchain: scalability, security, and decentralization. One of Solana's most prominent supporters is billionaire crypto exchange executive and founder and CEO of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried. Watch till the end of the video to see what he had to say about Solana at the DeFi Conference 2021.
I'm gonna talk some about Ethereum and Solana, about DeFi in general, where it is, where it's been, where I think it's going. When you think about, where DeFi is going, and, there's obviously a lot of different parameters there, and part of the hope is that it becomes something that's really big, and that it becomes something that's a lot bigger than it is today. And, there's some metrics by which it's big today. There's tens of billions of dollars of value flowing through the DeFi ecosystem, but there's only tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of users, which is not nothing, but it's less than the number of users of even the larger centralized crypto exchanges today. And so this isn't a mass market phenomenon yet. This is mostly something which is internal to the crypto ecosystem, but it obviously plays a really big role in the narrative around crypto, and around what crypto could become. And so, what gets us, from here to there, so to speak. I think that there's a number of things that need to happen. A big one of these is solving scaling. And this is not an easy thing to solve. The core of it is that right now, on Ethereum, you can get about 10 total transactions per second going through the network. And if you look at how many do you need for DeFi, well, I don't know. It depends on what DeFi is and becomes. But just to start off with, right? Like, what if you want to put one giant company on a blockchain? Take your favorite, really, really big company, right? Something that 1 billion people might use. Whether you're looking at something from finance or social networks or something else, you're sort of going to see something kind of like 1 million transactions per second, right? If you look at tweets per second, Facebook likes per second, trades per second, those are the sort of numbers that be as few as 50,000 for some of the less intensive programs, maybe as much as 20 million for some of the more intensive programs. And you can sort of go through this process yourself, but I think that's about where it tends to end up for like a gigantic company. And that gives you a hint as to how big blockchains would need to get in terms of capacity and throughput, in order to really start to touch what they could be in their potential. And it means you have to be talking kind of about millions of transactions per second, probably, just a lot. And it's not just that it's bigger than 10, which is sort of where we are today. It's bigger than 1,000. What can you do? You can either have a single something, you call a layer 1, layer 2 blockchain, roll up, sidechain, whatever you want, has 1 million transactions a second, or you can kind of patch together 100 of them, each of which have 10,000 transactions per second. And that's sort of what things like sharding are like, where you take sort of like independent chains, each of which is a few thousand transactions a second, and then you sort of weave them together. I think sharding can be super powerful, but you sort of need to at least be able to get, like, at the very least, kind of want each program to not have to be split between shards, right? Like single programs should be on single shards, and ideally even like ecosystems or like sectors. And so again, I think you kind of want to get to like a 1 million TPS per shard, sort of. And just very, very few blockchains are even trying to get there. I will say that I've sort of been involved in the Ethereum and Solana ecosystems, and what is that? Well, Solana, it's a blockchain, and the thing that sets it apart is that it really is shooting for that much TPS, for millions eventually. It's probably the fastest today at 50,000. But what really makes it different isn't the speed today, but it's the roadmap that is like really, really actively shooting for way more than that. And so many blockchains, they sort of like have their current speed or a roadmap to get to a few thousand, and that's sort of that. And much roadmap to get beyond that. When you think about something like the EVM, which is the Ethereum virtual machine, it is the most common by far way to be building decentralized applications right now. It's also not built for mass scalability in a single shard. And that's why you don't generally see EVM compatibility being prioritized as much for something like Solana. It would be very useful in some senses, but anything that was built using it, the risk is that it ends up not being able to take advantage of the faster throughput of Solana because it's being built in a way that isn't sort of natively parallelizable. And that is maybe just to get to like what is sort of the big philosophical distinction between, say, ETH2 and Solana. ETH2 takes a bunch of basically totally independent shards and then sort of layers on top of ways for them to, on long timescales sort of interact with each other. Solana takes parallel transactions that are each block syncing up with each other. And you can think of it as doing sort of what like memory stores do, where you can have like 100 people simultaneously trying to submit transactions to the blockchain and just all go through. They all are syncing up with each other, layering on top of each other. And if two people are both trying to affect the same memory cell, then whoever got there first sort of block out other people for a second or two, until that sort of like propagates through. But if two people are sending, actions that don't overlap in terms of what memory cells they're supposed to be affecting, then they can basically happen in parallel, and it doesn't actually matter which sort of goes first or second. And that sort of is the way that Solana views parallelization.
Sam Bankman-Fried says with conviction that Solana is really shooting for millions of TPS eventually for the future, and it is the fastest today at 50,000. With scalability, security, and decentralization, it is apparent that Solana has all of the makings of a successful blockchain, backed by a solid native token that is holding its own on the crypto charts, outperforming the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum. What do you think about what Sam Bankman-Fried shared about Solana's scalability? Do you think it's rightfully dubbed the Ethereum killer? Let us know in the comments. That's it for our video on Solana today. If you like this video, do give it a like, and we hope you can subscribe to our channel so we can continue to keep you updated with financial news. Thank you for watching. Until the next video, this is Crypto Revolution.